Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gamey, get nerdy,
and get nurtured. Woohoo! Hi, everybody. I'm Mary, and I'm in Salt Lake, and we are recording Nurtured Nerds Podcast number 22 today. This is so exciting. I'll give you a brief introduction of me, and then we're going to Mary will introduce herself as our co-host. This is exciting. This is the first time Mare's with us, so I'm happy about that. I've been a professional cuddler for 6 years, and I've been a cuddle party facilitator for 7 years, and doing this work is just so fun. And I've been with the Nurtured Nerds since we started, and it's been great to be part of this group too and do all these podcasts. It's been so much fun. So that's kind of a little bit about me. Mare, will you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Mare. I'm a certified professional cuddlist in the Los Angeles area. I also do a lot of work with the woo-woo type of thing, like shamanic modalities of healing, Reiki, that kind of thing. And that's a big part of my jam. I'm very like the maternal figure. So that's like how my cuddling shows up in my work. And I'm very happy to finally get to virtually meet you, Mary, even though we've had some short interactions here and there, but this is our first time like really hanging. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for coming to do this with us.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce our show today?
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. This is the podcast for being nerdy and getting nurtured. This is episode 22. On today's episode, we'll be nerding out on reptiles with a panelist of reptile enthusiasts. We'll also talk about some more nerdy things, cuddly things, and let you know what's currently going on in our community. And we still have a raffle for our new members to get a chance to win a care package. Come join us and find out more about our community of nerds and cuddlers. Whew, excuse me. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We want to hear from you.
Yes, please. This is a community. Come and get involved.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So we have some people on our panel today. This is exciting. But first, we want to say, what are we drinking? I don't know. I don't really drink tea anymore because it's hot here. So I'm actually just drinking water. That's what I drink. That's one of our traditions here. What have you got, Mare? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I'm drinking tea. I've got some herbal tea that I make myself, like some angelica, jasmine, and a little bit of cut up ginger in there. Like herbalism is one of my things too.
Oh, awesome.
My domain. And my little Alice cup.
And your Alice cup. Oh, cute. Nice.
Yeah, it's hot everywhere, but actually LA is not super hot, to be honest. Weird.
Well, let's have our panelists introduce themselves and let us know what they're drinking too. Nicole, would you care to go first?
Sure. I'm Nicole. I met Mary through Cuddle Club. Gosh, how many years ago now? It's been
quite a while.
Long time. It's also been a few years since I've been able to go. Just combination of life things going on. For a while there, I just thought I was sick for a really long time. I didn't want to give that to anyone. So
yeah.
Reptile enthusiast would probably be the best description for me. I've just loved reptiles since I was a kid. I'm going into social work though, so not really reptile involved, but hobby is.
Yeah, when Davion told me he was thinking, oh, we should do one about reptiles, I thought of you immediately. I was like, Nicole would be great. Met her at Cuddle Party and she loves reptiles.
Every time
with you again.
So every time that you ask for an introduction, I'm like, oh, so anyone else like reptiles? And no one else ever liked reptiles.
Do you have any reptiles currently?
No, unfortunately, my living situation doesn't really allow for that.
Got it.
I'd like to, but not right now. Someday. Yeah. Oh, and I am just drinking some water. Got to keep hydrated. It's hot.
Yeah. Good old basic water. Love it. Thanks, Nicole. It's exciting to see you again. And we've got another guest who's joining us now. I'm sorry she had some technical difficulties, but Michelle, are you with us?
Hi, my name is Michelle Petze. I live on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. My love of reptiles and amphibians was born in my childhood. I grew up on a pond, and since I could walk, I was chasing them, not to hurt them or catch them and put them in a cage, but just to enjoy them and learn about them. Snakes are my absolute favorite animal on earth next to squirrels. I'm also a wildlife rehabilitator specializing in eastern gray squirrels. And my stained glass business I use to express my love of nature. And thank you for letting me be part of this podcast.
Good to have you here. Nice. And we also have Christine. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Pleasure. So hi from Costa Rica, out of the US. And there, I'm even farther south than most of you. It's actually not as hot as in the rest of the world. It is warm, but not, I mean, that's a general thing, tropics. And I guess I'm a professional reptile nerd, I guess. I am a marine biologist, and I have specialized on sea turtles. So I have worked with sea turtles for the past 16 years, I think, at this point.
That's wonderful.
Live and work mainly in Costa Rica, where I run a small grassroots organization and still do a lot of outreach, but also a lot of science, surrounding sea turtles, but especially conservation of sea turtles. And I do not have my own sea turtle.
But that's
the next question.
You have everybody's sea turtle.
Yeah, I have pickled sea turtles I could even show, but yeah, that's all. No house sea turtle.
That's so exciting. So we just like to find a new thing that somebody is nerding out about and celebrate that nerdiness. And so we decided reptiles is a good one to get nerdy about and find folks that love them, and let's nerd out. Mary, would you like to ask I think we're on question 3.
Okay. I would like to ask Nicole or both of you, Christine, what is your favorite species of reptile, or what genus, like what type is your favorite? And why?
Yeah.
I love all snakes, for the record, but my favorite would probably be garter snakes. I know it's a little silly, they're very common, but I just think they're really cool. There's a huge variety of them. If you're looking for something, I don't know how familiar you guys are with reptiles, but usually whenever you're referring to like the kind of the color scheme of the animal, it's referred to as a morph. So they've got a lot of different morphs to them. There's also, I think, 30 species in the US alone. So,
well, Nicole, we're very touchy-feely people. So does the feel of the snake have something to do with the tactile feel of the snake, have something to do with your love of it, do you think?
It is fast. I had more recently, I had a gigantic, she was a rock python wrapped around my shoulder. She was 14 feet. She's a beautiful snake. It's fascinating. You can really feel their muscles moving as they're, as they're on you. It's a very interesting feeling. I do
a little massage.
There are snake massages. I don't know how. I think those are mostly a fad.
I think I like garter snakes just because they're not dangerous, so that you can hold them and play with them, and they're not too big either. I hope I'm thinking of the right one. I'm really not.
They're only about 2 feet usually. Max length is 2 feet.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're you might have heard them called garden snakes. You've definitely seen one. They're all over the US.
Oh yeah, they're all over. Michelle, your sound is really breaking up. Will you go out and come back in again, and we'll just keep talking until you come back? And then
Christine, maybe you can tell us what your favorite
yes, please.
reptile is and why.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it doesn't come as a surprise that sea turtles are my favorite. But within the group of sea turtles, so there actually are only about 7 species, while we have more than 350 different turtle species, really, where sea turtles are part of. So our tortoises and freshwater turtles. Really, my hands down favorite one is the leatherback turtle. which for some reason a lot of people don't even know exists, because when I say sea turtle, a lot of people think of the hard-shelled sea turtles, the kind of Finding Nemo, green turtle, crash, whatever. But leatherbacks are, after crocodiles, actually the largest reptiles that we have. They can, reach a whooping 300 to 700 kilograms on average. And I'm about 5'6" or 5'7". Sorry, I don't do well with the imperial system, but they're larger than I am tall, pretty much, with the head and the tail. So they're massive and absolutely impressive. And they have so many superlatives about them that, I could probably just talk an hour about leatherbacks, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But leatherbacks are definitely the ones that have my heart.
I like leatherbacks too. Yeah, they're neat. Wow. Mary, do you have a favorite reptile?
I'm really jamming on her sea turtle thing. I think I've seen an image from a TV show or a movie where someone is swimming with them, and it's just like, oh, to be able to do that. Wow. Have you done that, Christine?
Yeah, I actually have. So we do, I would say my work is probably divided in two different categories. The one is where we are interacting or like collecting data on nesting sea turtles. So that means mainly the females and the babies, once they're hatching, happens at night on the beach. But then we have what we call the in-water work. So that means we are actually catching turtles or observing turtles in their natural habitat, water, where they're spending most of their lives. And so if you have really good conditions and if you're not perceived as a threat by the turtle, so that means if you're calm, if you kind of behave respectfully, they really chill usually and just stick around, and you can just hang out with them for extended times.
It's wonderful.
That is awesome. Yeah, and I'm into Central America. I've been to Costa Rica a couple times, and I'm in Panama. I think I'm going to be going there. So yeah, I love hearing about the sea turtles. And it's like,
Mary, do you have a favorite reptile?
Nice. I don't really have a favorite. I'm liking the ones you guys have talked about so far, though. Those are nice. Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think I have lizards here. I see them often. I just moved into a new place and I see them on the pathway all the time, and they're fun, little tiny ones.
Yeah, the little tiny like geckos that I saw when we were in Las Lajas in Panama last March. Those were fun, just up on the wall. It's like, oh, I have a little friend.
Oh, inside the house. That's wonderful.
Well, on the outside wall. I don't really want them in the house.
They eat the bad bugs, right?
That's true. They eat the bugs. That's a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. Michelle, are you with us again? Oh, I can't hear you. Okay, well, let's move on to the next question, and hopefully Michelle can come with us. Do you guys have a favorite story from your life that you would like to share and nerd out on? Because we're assuming we're all kind of reptile nerds here today. Is that how you identify yourself? I like to hear that too. Christine, would you like to tell us if you're a nerd and what your favorite story might be?
I'm definitely a nerd. So, I've been a nerd. Like I said, I'm a professional nerd. I have totally come to terms with that, which was probably not very cool when I was growing up. At this point, I really don't care anymore. I just live it. I don't know. I have so many sea turtle stories that I would have a hard time probably deciding on just one. But maybe the story where, I fell in love with leatherbacks, the one that kind of defined, my future path. And that was, about 16 years ago when I started here in Costa Rica, and I saw my very first nesting sea turtle. I had seen sea turtles already in the Red Sea while diving, but that was the very first time I saw a nesting turtle. And people have to envision that, Costa Rica has still coasts that are very much undeveloped. So we don't have, actually by law, not a lot of buildings right at the waterline. And so in the area where I actually live, we have the jungle right next to our ocean. Wow. And I just remember that, when you are walking, you have the kind of, the big dark jungle on the one side, and then you have the dark ocean on the other side. You hear the waves crashing, and you walk over the soft sand, and you have this incredible night sky above you. And then it's so crazy because I had never seen a leatherback, right? I had been in training and I have been told all about these incredible animals. And then the moment where I actually saw the leatherback, I didn't even realize that what I was looking at was a turtle, because, there was this dark shadow in the waterline that, just had, except, the difference between a trunk and that shadow was there was like a slight glistening or reflection of the moon on it. And I kind of, my subconsciousness, it's at least kind of, got stuck with it and was like, man, did that just move? And then all of a sudden, it kind of started really slowly making its way out of the waterline and onto the beach. And that was the moment I said, no, that's a sea turtle. Oh my God. Do I actually know what I need to do right now after all the training? And how big, I've just said, right? 300 to 600 kilograms, like 1.70 meters large. But it's so different if you're like standing next to that animal and you just see how ginormous they are. And then, of course, you start thinking about all the things you know about them, right? So leatherbacks have actually been around for about 110 million years. So the nerds amongst such, they know this dinosaur got extinct about 65 million years ago. So that means, the great, 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 great grandmother of that particular turtle has probably seen, some dinosaur. And they haven't changed much, they haven't changed the way of how they live. And then additional to that, it's not like I had to, anesthetize the animal or do anything so it wouldn't run away. But, just by the way that how I behaved of not running in front of it, not using white light, I really was permitted to stay with that animal while I was going through this laborious, process of first digging in a body pit, then digging an egg chamber, then depositing the eggs, camouflaging the whole area. And all of that, losing this freedom of movement that they usually have in the water, because all of a sudden, gravity kicked in and you can really see of how much work all of that is. That was really the moment where I just fell in love and was totally in awe. And I think that is probably still one of my favorite reptile experiences.
That is so awesome. I love seeing your enthusiasm when you talk about it. This is why we like to celebrate nerds.
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe try Michelle?
Yeah, I just let Michelle back in. Can you speak, Michelle? Still not working. Dang it. Okay, well, Nicole, do you have a favorite reptile story you want to tell us? I'd love to hear your story too.
Mine's a little, so I've always been a reptile nerd, far back as I can remember. And I've also been a huge book nerd. I love reading, mostly fiction and fantasy, but especially as a kid, I would love to pick up, you remember they like advertised them on the TV all the time, those zoology books where I remember big old white background and a bunch of not good art, like clip art of a bunch of snakes kind of poorly pasted on a white background. It didn't look great, but I loved those books. And I was always picking them up in the library. And one day in second grade, we were all sitting there in class, and my teacher's talking about reptiles. What do you know? And I'm like, oh, this is great. I love reptiles. And then this poor woman who is, I think she was retiring that year. Older woman, she wanted to be done. It was like 10 minutes before recess. She's like, I'm about to get these little demons out of my room. I can have a break. I am old and I am done. She's like, okay, guys, snakes don't have bones. Isn't that cool? And little second grade me, my hand just shoots in the air, and I'm like, no, snakes have bones. And she's like, oh, Nicole, don't be silly. Snakes don't have bones. And I'm like, no, I have the book. I have the book with me. I can cite my source.
You have the book
my source.
I love it.
And this is before the internet's readily available. So she was not expecting this. She's like, what are you doing? So I'm like in my backpack. I don't even care. She's like, it's fine. You really don't have to do this. No, I pull out that book. I flip it open. I'm like, no, look, this picture. Snakes have phones. At the time, I'm like, yes, I get to teach my teacher something. Looking back, I'm like, oh, she must have hated me.
Nicole, are you an educator?
No. I've done some teaching stuff, but
you have a lot of, you could drop a lot of knowledge about snakes.
I think most people are probably aware snakes have, but I think they are. Gosh, I'm not even sure.
I don't know. I'm always surprised at what people don't know.
Yeah,
I knew snakes had bones. Cartilage. Yeah, sharks are cartilage, but I knew snakes had bones. Cool. Yeah. One of my favorite stories is meeting Nicole in cuddle party and saying, I love snakes.
I was so optimistic every time that someone would be like, oh my gosh, me too.
Me too. Well, if you keep doing it, I'm sure you'll find people though.
Yeah.
Here we are. See, this is what, from that seed 8 years ago, here you are nerding out on with other reptile lovers. So it works.
Good point. It must have worked out for me.
It works.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. Mary, do you have a story?
About reptiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. When my son was little, I wanted to get him a box turtle because we had a big backyard here in California. And to my dismay, his dad got him a water turtle, which meant like cleaning the water tank all the time, right? So that fell on me. And then at some point, like his name was Samuel. I don't know why my son named him Samuel. At some point, Samuel was roaming around the backyard and he got away from us. And I guess he buried himself because we didn't find him till like the spring. But he survived a winter just outside with rain or whatever natural water he could find and with the cats and everything. He just reemerged. We thought he was long gone or he got eaten by a hawk or something, but it was miraculous. He came back to us.
That's cool.
Well, Samuel. Amazing.
Oh, I just remembered I do have a story because I have a pond in my backyard that I've had koi in it. It's a pretty big pond. It's 900 gallons. And one time I found a red-eared slider in there. Wow. A turtle. Yeah. I have no idea where it came from. I only saw it that one time.
Really?
And I don't know where it went. I was hoping it would stick around and live in my pond. Wow. I mean, maybe it did and I just never saw it, but I was so excited to say, oh my gosh, there's a turtle in my pond. This is awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of sad that we never saw that again. Remember that from your story. All right. I think we have Michelle with us. Let's try one more time. Michelle, can you try speaking? Let's see if you unmute yourself. You're on mute right now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now.
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't see me, but my daughter downloaded the audio, but we can't figure out the video. Okay. It's nice to be here. I mean, can I add I have a snake story.
Welcome, Michelle. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for welcoming me, and thank you to my friend Davian for hooking me up with you ladies. But so I don't know if I'm up on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and not sure anyone remembers Hurricane Bob.
Hurricane Bob, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was 1991. Anyway, I was a wildlife rehabber at a clinic locally, and we had gotten a call. A gentleman out on one of the beaches had found a pile of black racers. They were all caught up in the netting because they put netting on the beach to prevent the erosion. So everyone in the clinic just was like, no, I'm not going near snakes. As we all know, people are so terrified.
Racers?
Black racers?
Yeah.
Black races.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But me, I jumped. I have loved snakes since I could walk. So I said, I'm going. I don't care what anyone says, I'm going. So long story short, I get there and I had never seen erosion netting on a beach. So I'm thinking, oh, it's just like a little bit of a net, wire net. So I got my wire clippers. It was about 6 layers of netting of all different thickness and shape. So basically what was happening is not only were the black races entangled, but they were in the hot sun.
Oh.
And they were definitely in trouble. So I'm cutting through them. But what was also a side effect was that I could not tell where the head was compared to the tail. So I'm just on this mission to get them all out. I got bit about 25 times because when I was thinking I just see the tail, underneath it was a head, and they were so terrified probably, and they were biting me. But the good thing is I ended up, ladies, getting every single snake out. And I brought them back to the clinic in my bag. And I walk in the door, and the room, everyone vacates the room. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Not one of them had didn't want to see. They didn't want to see the snake. They were so scared of them. So I convinced the manager who was did the medicine and whatnot. I said, you have to look at these snakes for me, because I was a new rehabber. I didn't have the experience to diagnose medical. It turned out they were all just had some cuts and scrapes. I kept them in my care for about 4 days, and then I released every single one of them at a local pond. So it was a successful rescue. So that's my snake story.
Great. So I assume they're not poisonous if you were bitten that many times.
No, there's no poisonous snakes on Cape Cod. They're not. It was painful. It still
hurts. But
it hurts.
Wow, that's an amazing story, though, Michelle. Wow, what a great thing to do.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for taking care of our wildlife. For sure.
Absolutely.
That takes a lot of guts.
So coming back around to our cuddle and nerd theme, how do you form bonds with a reptile? It's not even a mammal. Do you form a bond with a specific reptile, or is it just like the cool factor of them? Like a cat or a dog, you can get like oxytocin from interacting with them. I wonder if that happens with reptiles too. Have you guys had any experience with that?
I had a pet corn snake, and I don't know. I know they talk about how they don't feel emotions and whatnot, the way, like you said, cats, animals, and as a rehabber, even squirrels, there's something different about. But I don't know when my kids named our corn snake Cornflake, and I swear he perked up when we would do handling time, and we had a spot for him in my room where we let him kind of get that exercise, stretch out. I hate seeing them in a tank. But I don't know. I like to think they feel something. I feel like if an animal feels pain, they must feel other things. But that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
I would think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? I would say, going back to my son and his turtle, we also had a cat at the time, and he was trying to learn how to navigate being nice to the cat and the cat not being nice to him. We eventually had to get rid of this cat, but luckily someone took her, but the turtle, though, Samuel would just perk up whenever he would come near the tank. Like he would get really animated, and he would shuttle back and forth, and I could tell that he really responded to him, whereas the cat was more scratches. Scratches and bites, and I was like, oh, you can't get that close to the kitty's face and all that kind of stuff. But there's an upside to having an animal it just responds totally different than a mammal does. I really like that he had both of those experiences when he was growing up.
I was kind of waiting to see if Christine wanted to jump in. I didn't want to jump in over her before. To the best of my knowledge, snakes and the problem that you'll get with a lot of reptiles is that they're not social the way that mammals are, because there's not the reward center, and the reward center in the brain doesn't light up like it does for mammals. We're our closest relatives are the great apes, right? Our closest living relatives. and they live in groups, and living together like that allows them to they have access to better food, they have access to protection in groups. Like nothing wants to attack, a bunch of who wants to attack like 30 gorillas? No one. Nothing's going to do that. So our brain lights up whenever we're around each other, and we experience actual pain, like registerable pain, if we are with social exclusion. And reptiles just kind of don't have that. So it's not that they don't have emotions, but they don't have the same emotions we do, and they're not social the way that we are. So it's kind of, you have to kind of understand and respect that. You stress them out if you try to spend too much time around them.
Oh,
It just kind of is.
But snakes do like to congregate. Sometimes certain varieties of snakes do, like the black racers she found in a bunch.
Garter snakes will actually do something. Usually it's referred to as a mating ball. They all just kind of come together in spring to create babies. But it's still not quite social the way that we think of it. A lot of some animals will come together specifically for that, but they won't hang out after that. Like,
okay,
you wouldn't refer to, like, male grizzly bears will not hang out with each other or even with females or with cubs, but they will come together in springtime for mating purposes. But they're still not social.
Okay, that's interesting. I was always worried that our turtle was lonely. He was just in that thing by himself. And then he would see, the people and go outside and walk for a little while. But other than that, he didn't have like any other turtles around. And I thought, he must be lonely for another turtle.
Turtles will actually, you can cohabitate them pretty well.
Okay.
Provided you have enough space. They do okay. Most snakes, you don't want to do that. Larger lizards don't do that either. But it depends on species.
All right.
Yeah, I guess if I'm going to jump in as a behavioral scientist here, I think we humans, we always tend to try to understand the world and behavior from our perspective of how we interact and how we, feel about certain things. And of course, animals are very different. I mean, it even starts with our dogs. I mean, so many people misinterpret behaviors of dogs absolutely incorrectly, and the dogs are absolutely miserable. And I hate to say it that way because we all love our dogs, but sometimes we really smother them in the way of how we behave. Like dogs, for example, don't like to be hugged. They will tolerate it because they like you so much, but it's not something they feel comfortable with. And reptiles per se are not social animals, right? So they do their thing all by themselves. So a lot of people that watched Finding Nemo, we're back at that film again, I really have to burst the bubble. So this, first of all, that you will find them as like a family group is totally bollocks. And that there will be a dad in the picture is even a greater, greater stupidity, because the males are actually never even part of any of what the female is doing. So, they kind of inseminate the females, and then they're off again foraging elsewhere. And then the female doesn't even engage in parental care. So the only reptiles that really have something like that are crocodiles, crocodilians, and some snakes. But crocodilians are probably, the closest to what we would say a caring mother. Where sea turtles really, after the mom lays her eggs in the sand and camouflages everything, that's it. Like, she's off. And we don't even know if siblings or moms recognize their own babies. We have no idea if something like what we call kinship recognition even exists. And that, of course, is when we think about why we socialize as humans, even, it has usually a lot to do with the family groups that we grow up in. Then, of course, the partners we choose to spend our time later on. I mean, we're not just going, on the street and just hugging a total stranger either, right? That's not part of what we're doing either. So I'm just, I always have to kind of warn people to be a little bit careful of trying to, humanize animals, because it usually doesn't do the animals any good. Not so much, that we are not loving them enough, but it's sometimes really to the detriment of the animals.
Good point. I think people often infantilize, especially their dogs. Like, this is my baby, Sparky. You know, it's like, no, that's not a baby. That's a dog. You have
That's
to.
a dog.
Yeah.
When I've done free hugs before, so I do hug strangers in the street sometimes, and people want me to hug their dog, and I thought it was really weird, and I felt sorry for the dog actually. And I did hug the dog a couple, 2 or 3 times, but I could tell the dog was not into it. I'm like, this is not consent.
No. Also, that dog doesn't know you. What if the dog knows you getting that close? Oh, I'd say.
Well, no, I know how to handle dog. I'm not going to approach a dog that is dangerous. Yeah,
I'm not good at dogs. Probably. Yeah.
I can do dogs, but yeah, it was weird.
Just want to chime in. Sorry, I really love that Christine mentioned like humanizing animals. I follow a lot of people who also happen to breed snakes, or rather reptiles, and like online spaces. There's a lot of people who will say things like, well, don't the moms get sad when they get separated from their eggs? No, snakes just don't care. It's not part of their, they don't have the same maternal instincts. They just kind of leave their babies. The vast majority of them will lay their eggs and leave. They are gone. They just don't have that same attachment. So no, they're not sad that the eggs are gone. And overall, the eggs are going to be better off separated in a controlled environment where they can be hatched safely.
Yeah.
Nicole, would you say they're cold-blooded?
Yeah, we're nerds here. Good one, Mare.
Well, if we want to jump on the cold-blooded thing, I mean, that is also not the correct term, right? I mean, it's just if we wanted to nerd out.
Okay.
So
yeah, please.
What reptiles do is actually they're not able to regulate their own body temperature, right? It's not that they really have cold blood. I mean, there's a reason, for example, why we find reptiles mainly in areas where it's, a certain temperature range and not below that. So sea turtles, for example, except of leatherbacks, and if you guys want to go into that, I could definitely talk about it. But usually sea turtles are only found in waters above about 25 degrees Celsius, because other than that, they're not functional, right? So they are, as we mammals we're able to generate body heat through muscle action and stuff, but reptiles are not really able to do that, or as a rule. And just because of that, we call them cold-blooded, but it's not really that they have, cold blood as a lot of people envision it, I guess.
Yeah. And not related to emotional things either, like cold-hearted. No. But it's a fun joke.
Well, it is very sad though, because going back to humanizing animals, right? Because this not being able to relate to certain animals as much because they're not as cute and not as cuddly has really been, really, really, really bad for certain animals. Like think about sharks. Sharks kind of have also, similar to reptiles, I think this they have different eyes, which you don't have the round pupils, but kind of the slits, and they just look they don't look like human eyes, right? Or they don't look like mammal eyes. So people tend to interpret and project so much into these animals, so much, human notions as evilness and and also of course snakes as, the original sin from the Bible that was, the snake was chosen as the animal that delivered it just hasn't done any good. And of course, for that reason, there's so many people that really viciously hate snakes and hate sharks. And those poor animals, have really no fault in that and have been hunted to near extinction in some cases, just because of us humans humanizing them and doing it in a really bad way, because they don't look like panda bears or they don't look like, happy dolphins.
Wow, that's really
agree.
I really like that. Never thought about it that way.
It's a problem for sure. Yeah, we need all of our animal diversity. And yeah. Well, we're here to celebrate cool animals, so we're trying to fight that.
Absolutely. Michelle, do you have anything personal about reptiles to add to that part?
I love listening to this because I'm very much rusty with my info. When I was a kid, like I said, I've loved snakes since I could walk. I'm a huge wildlife enthusiast. I earth crunchy everything. But I'm also glad you're talking about sharks because I do a Shark Week with my stained glass business where I sell whatever shark sun catchers I sell. I will donate to one of the causes that helps, because it's frightening that we may lose the apex predators of the ocean. And I'm reading about what will happen to the ocean without sharks. It's terrifying. But as far as snakes, I could talk all day about snakes. I adore them. I don't know. There's something about them, but I would love to go back into rehab because, like I said, I did have a pet snake once, and as much as I want to be around snakes, I just don't like seeing. This is just me. Animals as pets, it bothers me. I don't like cages, so I think that's why I got into rehab, because what we do, obviously, I'm sure you all know about wildlife rehabilitation. We help them, medically and whatnot, and then we set them free back to where they belong in nature. So, I would love to get back into the rehab with the reptiles and whatnot.
Would you say that you have creative endeavors that have been inspired by snakes, by maybe even sharks?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
You care to expound on that? I'd love to hear about the stained glass.
Again, long story short, I've been doing stained glass art. My dad taught me when I was about 18. And I recently, about 10 years ago, got back into it. So I own a stained glass. It's online. It's like a website. And I love to create, especially, like I said, the wildlife. But it's mostly sun catchers, but I also do stained glass windows. I have a beautiful sea turtle panel with the ocean waves.
Oh.
And if I can, I feel like, again, art is very inspiring to people. And I feel like art inspiration brings awareness. So it's not like I just, I'm going to make the shark and you can buy it because you like it. I want to, teach people about the benefits of sharks. And like the other day I made a bird, and I talked about this bird is important to the ecosystem for this reason. So it's I enjoy the educational part of it through my art, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Love that.
Thank you.
Cool.
Is this where she can press her website?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't come in. I actually came in because I don't have any friends who like snakes, and I was so excited when David invited me. I'm like, get me in with these ladies, absolutely. But no, my business is Suncatcher Heaven, and I'm on Facebook, I'm on the web, I'm on the Google. But like I said, I'm here. I would love to learn more about animals. I have so much to learn, and I'm so happy to have met you guys.
Us too.
Yeah.
And I will work on getting my video fixed so that I can show my face.
That's okay.
We'd love to see your face.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you guys, have the rest of you, do you have any stories about how you may have been inspired by your work with the reptiles or your interaction? And how it inspires your creativity specifically?
My creativity. I'm a scientist. Am I creative? I don't know. I guess, well, it's not entirely true. I do music and I do photography.
Cool.
But, well, I think nature in itself is actually art. And I don't know, people that are very disconnected from nature, I can't believe sometimes like how much disgust exists, for what they call bugs and other critters.
Yep.
Because I just, see so much perfection. I mean, so much creativity in those things. If you just think about all the different, just think about all the different animals that we have, and even within each animal group of all the different, colors. And I mean, this is just incredible. And so I like to document it. I, like to to, well, maybe transmit a little bit of my passion to people and foster a certain appreciation for those things. Just because I think if we don't fall in love with nature, it's really hard to get people to care about it and to care for conservation, and, you know, to even make them understand of why there's an intrinsic value of protecting certain animals, even if they don't agree with, you know, them being, I don't know, because they don't like snakes or don't like sharks. But yeah, I think that is probably, you know, how I live out my creativity, like, you know, through photography and documenting what's out there.
That is
Yes.
so gorgeous, Christine. Thank you for sharing that. That was amazing. Yeah.
I love photography. I would love to see some of your photography of leatherback turtles or whatever it is that you're inspired to.
I mean, if you want to, I share quite a bit on social media. So if, I don't know if you're on Instagram or something, but you can find quite a bit of that right there.
Yeah, can we follow
Turtle
you?
biologist.
Turtle biologist, is that your handle?
Sea turtle biologist. Yes, very uncreative.
Oh, that's perfect.
The handle.
Can I ask Christine a quick question?
Sure.
Going back to you mentioned bugs. That's another thing. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an entomologist. But my question, Christine, I'm reading a lot, and I know when you Google something, it's hard to kind of navigate, hey, what's true, what's not. But I'm reading a lot about insects being on the decline. Can you speak on that, if that's valid?
Oh yeah, it is definitely valid. I mean, we have nowadays more and more data, like what we call metadata, right? So that means because we have internet, so it's not like, you know, there's, I don't know, all these universities spread around the globe, and you literally would have to travel to their libraries to actually find information. So I can sit, you know, even in Costa Rica and access this absolutely wealth of information. And so more and more people have been starting to do kind of time series on, you know, abundance of certain animal species. And yes, insects are one group that have severely declined. I mean, it's not necessarily that we have all the answers to why, but it seems to be that, you know, when you talk to, you know, the generation maybe of our grandparents or great grandparents, that even when the first cars were around, that, you know, you couldn't drive without having the entire windshield covered in dead insects. And nowadays, I mean, how often do you ride your car? And our cars are a lot quicker nowadays than they used to be. And there is not a single dead insect, right? So that is just like of how crazily a lot that is. But actually, I think just maybe a few days ago, there was a new study that came out that showed that our plankton in the ocean, in the Atlantic Ocean, actually has decreased by 90%. Also, time series. So there's so many things that are happening on our planet, and of how certain governments, you know, are not really tuned into the nerds, into the scientists, and the scientists are usually not very good about speaking, you know, in terms that non-scientists understand the findings. And also because we have been taught to be so neutral that, you know, sometimes we're not good as a witness, because we seem to be cold and unemotional when we talk about those things. You know, we reporting that the insects have decreased by a lot, but that is not really transmitting the severity of that data set. And it's like, this is very concerning if you think about, you know, insects being, you know, the base of a lot of food chains, right? Birds that depend on it, and a lot of other animals that feed on insects that are probably also not doing so well because there's not enough food for them. So
our producer just put in the chat, you know, the reptiles eat insects. So that's got to affect our reptile population as well, right?
Oh, well, I mean, reptiles, there's also just, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, there was actually a really good also meta-analysis about what it looks in the group of the reptiles, you know, how many groups are actually endangered within the reptiles. I can highly recommend that. And it's not looking good. I can already, you know, spoiler alert. So it's not looking very good. I mean, we are in the, you know, in a mass extinction event again. And
Right.
it is literally caused by us humans, if you want to hear it or if you want to accept that fact or not. But this is something that, it's the data says it very clearly. I mean, that is another problem, that a lot of people don't understand how science actually works. That I'm not like waking up one morning and I'm deciding that I'm just going to go out and propagate that insects have been decreasing. But if I say such a thing, then it's because I have looked at the data and have seen in the data that insects have decreased. And then other colleagues, when I made that statement, have looked at that statement and have agreed, yeah, Chris is right. The insects are decreasing. So this is the scientific process that, so many people are not even familiar with, and which, sometimes drives me bonkers because it's very difficult to discuss anything actually, because I mean, our entire life is biology, is data, is science. And if you're not agreeing on the even most basic denominator of how to describe it and how to talk about it, then there's really not much you can talk about. And then we have, people that deny that there's climate change, and there's people that deny that we have a mass extinction, and there's people that deny that, I don't know, a lot of other things as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary.
It is very scary.
Yeah.
Kind of like no one likes this one, but unfortunately, outdoor cats are causing a lot of problems for animals everywhere. They've already contributed to the extinction of, I want to say, at least 2 bird species in the US. And reptiles, certainly. I mean, every time your cat brings home an animal, that's another animal that's dead, not because your cat wanted to eat it, but because, and it's not your cat's fault. I'm not saying that cats are bad. I love cats. Cats are great. But it's their natural instinct to go out there and hunt things, and they, quite frankly, don't need it. So you've just got a dead animal for no reason.
Yeah.
And then you've got millions of cats doing that.
Yeah.
You're right.
And they've hunted out populations, like when they go to islands, they've caused populations to become extinct on islands when people bring cats there.
And again, it's not the cat's fault. You can't say that the cat's bad. It's the people who should have kept their cat inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no one wants to hear that.
Or spay and neuter, so there's fewer cats. That would be good too.
Well, at least we're contributing to that, right? We're contributing to having less wild cats, feral cats. Us, just as humans, getting them spayed, neutered, and homed. We're at least trying to have that.
Yeah.
But
but it's not just the feral cats. It's really the house cats that go around.
I agree.
And there's also very good data on that in the UK, especially how songbirds have declined because of cats. And but that again comes back to certain animals are just a little bit more lovable than others, and people care more about. So we have this weird relationship to our cats and dogs, and then we freak out in other countries, for example, people eat dogs, but then once again we don't have any issues of eating pigs and cows, and I don't know, I mean there's this weird disengagement to certain things, even though they are all animals, right? But we like certain animals just more than we do others. That's, I guess, just a fact. And reptiles, unfortunately, are usually not the ones that are liked by a lot of people.
I can agree with the cat issue. And again, I'm someone who loves cats. I've had many pet cats in my lifetime. As you can imagine, as a wildlife rehabilitator, I would say half the calls are cat attacks. And I know we talked about they kill them, but not so much. Most of them are very much alive and suffering because cats have that bacteria in their saliva, and it's not a pretty death if we can't get to them in time. The other half of the calls are pretty much orphaned babies. And honestly, talking about humans, and I know there's amazing humans helping animals, but most of the orphaned birds, mammals, whatnot, it is from some human intervention, whether it's chopping down trees. And again, I love people, I love animals. I hope we can someday find some type of balance, but I do agree with the keeping the cats inside because they don't need to hunt. We've domesticated them. So, and plus, many people have coyotes. One of my cats was hit by a car. After that, I never had another outdoor cat again ever. I never will. So, yeah.
Sometimes you like to think of them as keeping the rodent population down when they're outside, and they do kill rats, mice, but they do also kill lizards, birds, anything that they can catch that's slower than them. They will eat it, or just hunt it and kill it.
Well, and those rodents are also an important part of the food chain. They feed a lot of other things, like we're talking reptiles. They're the base food for a lot of snakes, a lot of predatory birds.
Yep.
Things that we think are cool, but that need those rodents that we don't like.
Yeah.
And also, you kind of go back to what Christine was talking about with animals that we just like, oh gosh, no, I hate that. Rodents aren't. They're not good for our food storage situation in a lot of cases, but you kind of have to remember that we've moved into their territory. They were here first, and then we were like, we're gonna be here now.
Right.
And they've got the kind of, they don't have the their oh my gosh, their eyes aren't like ours, so we don't register them as being cute. Some people look at their naked tails and are like, ew. I personally think rodents are pretty cute, but
Oh yes, I do too. I raise many a rodent. They're actually amazing. Yeah, they're
That's
very
a
smart.
Yeah, I'm smart.
Yeah. Yep.
they're pretty clean. Oh my gosh, clean little critters. But
Yes, they are.
people don't see them as cute just because they're different.
Rats are really cute.
Well, but there's a lot of fear mongering. I was just going to say, I mean, fear mongering against rodents because, there's certain viruses that they can, transmit, even though it is super rare. Bats, the same thing. There's only a very few amount of bat species that are somehow detrimental to human health. But for some reason, people freak out as soon as they have, some bats in their attic. Sharks, the same thing, oh my God, there's a shark prowling in front of our beaches. If we just think about, the chances of even having a shark bite is quite low. Other things, I don't know, in rattlesnakes as well, these massive rattlesnake hunts that exist in Texas and other southern states where people really, I don't know, get taught and the kids get taught that rattlesnakes are something bad and need to be controlled and need to be killed. So there's so much human-made fear about these animals and people react to it, right? And it fits this whole scheme of what they look like and what we think they might be like if they were humans, I guess.
How can we, so you guys that have worked with reptiles and love them, how can we help other people love them? What can we do to introduce them and be like, it's an animal. You have to be aware, you have to respect it. It can hurt you, but you don't have to be afraid of it. You don't have to hate it. How do we teach people that?
One thing that I'm actually really fond of doing when people say, "Oh no, I hate snakes. They're all ugly and scary," is I will pull up pictures of hognose snakes because Eastern hognose are super cute.
Yeah.
Even by human standards, they've got the big eyes. They've got these cute little upturned noses. People see the cute things as being more valuable, which it kind of sucks you have to go that route. But I think also another thing to remember is that these animals, I hate to say it, reptiles for the most part aren't terribly smart. They're not capable of being deliberately malicious. There's no malice whenever a snake bites you. It's you've scared it. It doesn't. There are very, very few snake species that are capable of seeing a human as food. Just because its sheer size is, we're far too large for most of them. The vast majority and most fully grown adults will be too big anyway. And we have very few confirmed recorded cases of snakes eating children, even any kind of human. I think we have had 3 in the last 22 years, but we have people who, I'm sure you've heard, your cousins, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, whoever, one time heard that someone got eaten by a snake. It doesn't really happen. Most of the time you're in their territory and they just want you gone. Like rattlesnakes, for example. Why do you think they have that rattle? They want nothing to do with you. They want you to go away.
Yeah.
Their poison is not, their venom is not for you. They want to eat. That's why it's there. it's too much energy to deal with you. I think remembering that they're not being deliberately malicious whenever they bite you is a good first step for a lot of people.
When I don't have the issue, usually people like sea turtles, luckily. But I think a lot of times it's really about not fearing the animal, right? To kind of, because once people start to get to know animals, and even let it be sharks, let it be snakes, I think once they also have a chance to observe them, observe the behavior, and get a little bit infected with the passion or fascination that some people have for these animals, I think that usually helps to really start to develop an appreciation of these, even if you don't ever love snakes, but at least you can see why some people find them fascinating.
I think reaching children is super, super important, because many of these things, as you said, the animals that are demonized, fearmonger, it's kind of like other human issues where children are taught a lot of things. I think also seeing, like silly things like stuffed animals, cartoons, and I'm not saying cartoons that make animals seem like they're not what they really are, but things that would appeal to children to teach them, not to fear them, because kids don't have fear. Kids do not have fear. They even say the fear of spiders has been something that's taught, because we see like our mom or our aunt scream when they see a spider. So I feel like if we can in any part of our life reach the kids, that would be a good place to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that kind of led into a question I'd like to have. It actually came from our producer, but we're nurtured nerds here, so we have gaming nerds and things here as well. Do you have a favorite depiction of reptile characters in video games, movies, TV, stuffed animals? like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's when I remember, right? Made everybody, I don't know if people really identify with the turtles in that they're turtles in that, but there's got to be more, right?
I think wasn't that Ricky Tikki Tavi? Wasn't that the mongoose and the snake? There was a cartoon about that.
Yeah.
I remember that as a kid.
Yeah. I remember snakes being bad in the cartoons. In that movie, isn't it a big cobra that comes up?
Probably, but I love snakes, so but that was the one I can remember as far as the depiction. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've seen some. I mean, now as an adult, I've seen some really amazing snake tattoos, which are very beautiful, right? Yeah,
that's popular.
What question? Does any of the reptile nerds here have reptile tattoos?
Yeah, do you?
No, I don't. Not yet.
I have several planned, but no, not quite yet. I really want to get a big dragon tattoo across my back, though.
Oh, a dragon. Oh, let's
talk about dragons. Those are my favorite. I realize that they're fictional, obviously, but
cool. If
we're including them, definitely my favorite reptile. Which kind of leads into my answer to that question. Not a real reptile, once again. And it's pretty basic. I'm sure most people have heard of Skyrim, but one of the characters is actually a gigantic dragon. His name is Parthenax, and I think he's pretty cool. It's an interesting look into, and I forget the exact quote, but his thing is that dragons are kind of greedy and evil by default, and so he's made the choice to not be that way. And I think it's an interesting look into not people who are good and moral by just default, but people who are good and moral by choice.
Love that.
Cool.
Wow.
So I was thinking, so if people are listening to this and they're like, I do want to learn more about reptiles. Where should I go? What should I, what's a good first step? Maybe I hate snakes and I need to figure out how not to hate them. What can I do?
There are community outreach programs in a lot of places. If you have any kind of wildlife conservation center near you, they probably have one. I used to live actually near LA, and we had a oh my gosh, a park where they did a bunch of community outreach with like gopher snakes and things like that. So that's a good one. And if you are not at the stage where you want to go physically see a snake and maybe touch it, there's a really good YouTube channel called Snake Discovery. She actually does, the woman who runs most of it is, she actually does some of those outreach programs. So she has a lot of those snakes. She does do some breeding stuff, so if that's not something you're comfortable with, it's mostly like hatching videos, but those can be a little bit wet. That's not something you're interested in.
To me.
If that's not something you're interested in, maybe avoid those. But she does a lot of videos on reptiles. I believe that she is also opening a kind of an outreach, kind of a like a what sort of look? It's not a zoo, but I can't remember quite the right word for it. But to kind of show
conservatory or something like that.
Conservatory might be the word I'm looking for. She's got a few different reptiles. She talks a little bit about reptiles that you shouldn't own unless you have, like, she has a crocodile, I believe is what Rex is, that she was kept in really bad conditions, just a little tiny box. And so her growth was stunted, and she's got a really upturned nose. It looks kind of cute, but it is an unfortunate result of her living conditions.
Oh, wow.
So she does a lot of rescue and things like that, and she's a good resource.
Please say the name again.
Snake Discovery. You can find her on YouTube.
Cool. Thanks, Nicole. Michelle, do you have any outreach?
What I did for because the one critter I have been scared of since I was little are spiders. So I did something a little different. I don't know whoever's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook a lot because I promote my business there. So I started liking a lot of the spider pages. And I did this because I figured, when a spider shows up in your feed, you're like, if you're scared of them. I kind of did my own desensitization. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, it took a while. And I started to really enjoy the pictures. Some of them are beautiful. And so I'm not at the point where I'm ever going to pick up a spider probably, but I can definitely get closer to them than I've ever been before without having that fear. So that's something that worked for me. I don't know if that would help anybody else. Just to look at the pictures. I guess photography would be my answer.
There was a cool story in Jenny Lawson's latest book. It's called Broken in the Best Possible Way. And she talks about her friend who hated snakes, so she got a garter snake. And the snake came and saw her and immediately like bit her on the face.
Oh no.
And she's like, it was a guarded, of course it hurts, you're getting bit, but it's not poisonous. So she's like, look what you've done to me.
Oh,
but that friend and that snake became best friends, so she took care of it and lost her fear. So yeah, she's like, the worst has happened, I've gotten bit on the face.
Right.
And now I can appreciate the snake.
Wow.
It was a great story. Yeah,
that is good.
Christine, do you do outreach to help people? I mean, as you said, with the turtles, people love turtles already, but people want to eat them though, right?
Yeah.
We're going to stop that.
Yes. So for us, it's more, I mean, the main outreach is I guess it's divided. So we have the outreach with the local peeps here that, where we go into the schools and talk to the kids, because it's very difficult to foster an appreciation in adults that are very set in their ideas of how the world works. And I mean, I can't even blame them, right? Because sometimes I'm really missing a little bit compassion as well to the humans, because we are so quick to judge from the north, from the global north, people that do feed on an endangered species such as sea turtles. They eat the eggs, they eat the meat, they use the tortoise shell for something. But first of all, it hasn't been that long ago, actually within our lifetime, in my lifetime for sure, and I'm also not that old, that even in our supermarkets in Germany, we could still find turtle soup made from green turtles, and that you could go to Florida and get a sea turtle steak, so it has only become a taboo, in the past decades. And that taboo has not yet really, permeated other countries, especially where, economic hardships are definitely a thing. And a lot of times you can see the people that are poaching, that are going and then killing turtles, it's for them a little bit like killing a cow or a pig. And I mean, if you're not a vegetarian or vegan, then I think I'm having a hard time, honestly, you criticizing other people that, kind of see of how they can meet their protein necessities. But of course, sea turtles are not cows and pigs in the sense that they're not domesticated, and we have no control over the numbers, right? About the dynamic of populations. I mean, it's something that they harvest pretty much more than anything. And so we try really to go and talk to the kids and really make them understand that, we need a large population of sea turtles from different species because they have very important functions within the ecosystem, that they keep the oceans healthy, and that this is also important if you like to eat fish, because if you want to keep fishing, you need healthy oceans, and that it's not good to kill animals that are almost extinct, just as easy as that, right? So that's the one outreach perspective. But then the other thing that I'm using sea turtles actually more as a tool is that, well, we already talked a little bit about the dire state of our world, and the ocean is definitely no exception. In fact, we don't even know how bad it really is. Probably we're only scratching the surface, because I mean, we always say it as like a little phrase, but it's true. I mean, we know more about outer space than we know about our own oceans. And so the ocean, though, has such an important regulatory function, especially when you think about climate change and all of that. And people that do not live close to the ocean usually are very disconnected to this, whole issue. They don't feel like it really concerns them, but our oceans are actually, producing most of our oxygen. They're even more important than rainforests and all of that. And so I use sea turtles to make people fall in love with the ocean, right? Because sea turtles are cute. Nice. People do relate to them. People want to protect sea turtles. And so I kind of, do it in a maybe reverse psychology in that sense, that I'm like, yeah, well, if you want to help sea turtles, you also need to help the ocean, because if there is no habitat that they can live in anymore, and that means, we need to battle or combat climate change. We need to combat pollution, plastic pollution. We also need to rethink the way of how we do agriculture, because every river, it doesn't matter how far away from the ocean you live, but all our waterways will end up in the ocean eventually. I recently saw a map of the, I think it was the Mississippi with all its tributaries. I mean, this is insane. It pretty much is the entire, North America, United States that is somehow connected to that one river. Yeah. And it ends in the ocean. And so, all the agriculture that we are using, and all the, monocultures and pesticides and fertilizers, they all end up in the ocean eventually. So all of that is something that we have to take care of, right? We have to do it on an individual base, but we also have to become political active and think about the people that we vote into office, in the people that we give power to make decisions in a really big scale.
Absolutely.
And so this is the reason I'm, definitely doing outreach and try to convince people to do their part, even if it's just a tiny little bit, but it adds up if everybody helps.
Yeah, it sure does. Thank you so much. That was really insightful. Thank you. I'd like to ask all our panelists.
Well, before we do that, Michelle needs to leave. So Michelle, do you want to say goodbye for a second? It was great to have you with us.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to say goodbye. It was so nice to meet all of you. I can't thank you enough. I don't know how often you guys do this or what, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so good to have you with her.
Okay. All right. Well, so I hope I see you guys again then.
Yeah, I hope so too. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Michelle. That was very cool.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Mare.
Well, I'm going to backtrack a little bit into what was proposed, which is something about people evolving to be afraid of things like spiders and snakes. And do you think that there's some rational basis to that, or do you feel like it's largely irrational? Panelists.
Well, I mean, yes, it's rational for sure. I mean, we grew up of knowing certain things can harm us, but going back to our beloved pets, we also were probably at one time afraid of wolves because they were able to kill us. That we have outgrown it. In fact, we actually have domesticated wolves. And to nerd out a little bit about that one, so there's actually really, a big scientific group that believes that we wouldn't have evolved the same way we would have without domesticated dogs, because dogs and humans they're both social animals, and the way of how we live in groups are very similar. And so there is probably something that like a co-evolution that happened. So it's not just that wolves turned into dogs because they live with humans, but that the type of humans that we are nowadays is because of dogs that we live with. That's the actual question. Yes, I totally believe that evolutionary, we are scared of certain things. I mean, even have you ever put like a cucumber behind a cat, and how they jump away? It's probably also because they think it's a snake. There's a natural inborn fear of certain animals, but I think we are, we always want to be so superior. So I think we should be able to kind of snap out of it and learn more about it. I mean, there's a lot of people don't believe it, but people here in Costa Rica are afraid of sloth. They have these, sloth can't hurt a sloth, the animal, the cute animal, the
animal. They're so slow.
So
who's afraid of them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my mind was blown the first time I've heard that. But I guess they, from the lineage that they have derived, I mean, they are eating only leaves. That's literally all they eat. But they actually have predatory teeth. They have like the denture of a predator.
Wow.
And they have these massive claws, right? So they're from the same group of anteaters. And if they are getting, scared, then that's, they kind of try to kind of lift each other up and, put their claws first. But it's not like they can really do anything much with it if you leave
like
them
a slow Wolverine.
But people here have, it's like people have these crazy stories about sloth, stealing babies and all of these crazy things. So I just think we are more evolved than that, and we should definitely be overcoming those very basic reptile brain ideas of what might be dangerous to us.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, like Christine said, there's a lot of good reasons to fear spiders and snakes. I mean, obviously, you've got the venomous ones. And like I said, some of the constrictors do actually get big enough to be a danger. I mean, even if they don't see you as food, some of them have, I mean, if you're looking at a 20+ foot snake, you're looking at some big teeth that could kill you, quite frankly, if they bit you, even if it was just a warning bite. And I think a lot of people, there's also, it can be hard to tell snakes apart. I mean, I'm sure you've heard coral snakes versus like milk snakes. Do you remember the little rhyme scheme that's supposed to work for you? I never do, certainly.
Please tell.
Stay away.
It also only works in North America, so it doesn't apply, for example, to our coral snakes in Central. It's when red touches yellow, you're a dead fellow. That's the rhyme that should. But that's really only working for the North American ones. And I mean, I totally agree. But again, dogs can also be a danger to humans. So I think the consent should be respectful, right? Don't intrude into habitat of animals. Don't do things that they don't like. I mean, again, dogs don't bite just for shit and giggles. They usually do it because they feel uncomfortable and probably have told you already before through growling, through other things, that please back off, and you have not listened. But who is the bad person, or like the bad dog? The bad dog that eventually bites you. So I think just respect is always a good thing,
Yeah, many more dog attacks than shark attacks or snake bites in North America, at least I know. I've seen,
Animals set boundaries, and you have to respect them, or the animal will lash out. It's just what happens.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, humans will do the same thing, just that we usually lash out verbally.
Yeah. So what is the advice when you come upon an animal? What would, I mean, I've always just said, just respect them, listen to the warning signs, step away. Right?
Unless it's a domesticated animal, like we're talking like a cat or a dog, it probably wants nothing to do with you and would like to avoid you. Admire from a distance. Don't make a whole bunch of noise. Don't scare them. Don't try to feed them. Like I'm sure you've heard all the problems that we're having with people trying to feed like bears and things like that. So then the bear is getting up close to humans, and it's a danger to humans, and one human acts off, and the bear says, "Oh heck no," and hurts that person. Now all of a sudden we have to go and shoot the bear. You've got to respect that they're wild animals, and that they might look cute, it might be tempting, but they don't want to be your best friend.
Right.
And it's better for them if we treat them as the wild animals they are.
Yeah.
Don't pet the fluffy cows, right? I think that's like the poster in the Yellowstone park for the bisons. Yeah.
Yeah, don't get next to the bison. They don't like it. They're way bigger than you.
You got to respect their space. Admire from a distance, take some pictures, and leave them to their thing.
Yeah, leave them to what they're doing. Yeah, cool. What would you like to say to people who maybe are listening to this and maybe they want a reptile for a pet, or they want to help reptiles out, or they want to help just nature in general? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, the pet thing is like, reptiles are actually not easy pets and not cheap pets either. So if you're getting into the hobby of having a reptile, any reptile, even, I don't know, a gecko, that's kind of, I think, one of the first, beginner reptiles. First start reading up on that, talk to people that have reptiles as pets and do a good job. I know that certain countries, like actually in Europe, start to have like a reptile license, so you can't even buy a reptile unless you are kind of certified and showing that you are able to take care of it properly. Unfortunately, I know that in the US you can even have tigers as pets, so I guess that's not not a thing. But yeah, I would say if you want to be a responsible person and that kind of has a moral compass, definitely don't go into it lightheartedly. And other than that, there's so many organizations within the US, outside of the US, that is taking care of different reptiles, turtles, snakes, crocodilians, lizards. I mean, everything is there. And of course, you're always happy to get volunteers, to get money, that you support them on social media to spread the word, because sometimes it's really about, sometimes delivering information. So if you see something about, for example, I don't know, turtle crossing season, how to cross a turtle, correctly, those kind of thing helps already if you just share information on your social media channels. And yeah, just don't be afraid, be a good citizen, I guess, and help the reptiles out. Make sure that people don't bother them. I've seen people, poking sticks into snakes and doing other horrible things. Like, don't be part of it. Don't be an innocent bystander. Like, say something, see something, say something. Yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents for that.
Thank you. Nicole, what do you think about that?
Yeah, like Christine just said, donating, volunteering, advocating when you can. And like what Christine's been talking about this whole time with the awful impact we are having on our environment. Voting helps a lot with putting people into power that will hopefully be good for the environment, do something about what's going on. Keeping in mind our own personal impact's a big one. Pesticides in your garden can cause a lot of trouble. I understand nobody wants to have a bug-ridden tomato, but the pesticides you put into your garden end up in our water supply, end up everywhere else, kill off the bugs that are the very foundation of a lot of food chains. It's right. Important.
Yeah.
As for getting pets, please do your research. It might look cute as a baby, but that doesn't I was at a reptile expo and I saw Nile monitors being sold. And they were all of about maybe 5 inches. Really cute little suckers. They get to about 4 feet big. They need almost an entire room of your house to be properly housed.
Yeah.
They need big pools where they can swim and be fully submerged. And they're aggressive.
Yep. Yeah.
So you've got a 4-foot aggressive reptile in your house at the end of the day. Most people can't handle that and will end up having to surrender them, which isn't ideal. So do your research, and try to remember what we've been saying this whole time, that reptiles aren't mammals and their communication is going to be different and their needs are going to be different. You might enjoy your dog's going to enjoy being pet and maybe not hugged, but as long as you're respecting their needs, they want to be around you. Your reptile probably doesn't.
Do you think that reptiles enjoy to be touched or held? Or is that just our own thing?
They might enjoy the heat. They may enjoy the what's the word I'm looking for? The enrichment that you can provide every once in a while.
Interact a little bit,
but constant contact isn't good for them. It just ends up stressing them out. They can't enjoy being petted. Well, not can't is probably the wrong word. They just don't. We enjoy it because grooming is a social situation for a lot of mammals. So it lights up pleasure receptors in our brain. Reptiles just don't do that. So they don't like it now.
I really learned a lot about that this episode.
Cool.
Yeah. My
Really
last
good question,
question is for Nicole. For this, I heard that in Appalachia, where my family is from, there is a venomous snake that emits a smell, and that's how people can know it's already too late because it's nearby. Do you know about that? I think it's a water moccasin.
I don't know a lot about water moccasins specifically, honestly, but a few snakes will emit smells. It's not so much to say, oh, you're already screwed, as it is, please get away from me.
They're so fast though, then they chase people. So
it can look like that. They just want you gone.
Yeah.
I understand that it looks bad. Sometimes you'll be like, oh my gosh, that person is being chased down by a snake. You've got to look at it from an evolutionary standpoint. They've got no reason to do that. You're not food. You're this big, distracting, loud thing that is either going to hurt them or scare away their food. So they just want you to go away at the end of the day.
It works.
Well, great. This has been so fun nerding out on snakes and turtles and things. It's so fun to hear from you guys and see your passion for these topics. And I'm very passionate about the environment too, and that just affects all of nature. I love it. Is there anything else you want to say as we're heading to our ending here? Any of you?
The internet has a lot of bad advice for how to care for and act around reptiles. You've got to find people who are a little bit more reliable, not just your cousin on Facebook who's posting about the person whose ball python ate them. All 4 feet of a ball python.
Get multiple sources. Make sure they're reputable.
Right.
Yeah. Christine, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I'm just, do your part. I mean, as little as it can be, it will help. And hopefully we will have a future for the animals and us on this planet.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So why don't you tell us where we can find you if you want to? I know Christine, sea turtle biologist, you said, right?
Yeah, that's Instagram handle and also my website, seaturtlebiologist.com. So you should be able to find anything you want, like contact details, any other social media outlets, YouTube channel, and so on. If you want to get in contact, see what I work on, see how to support me, whatever else.
So awesome that you came to represent as a real scientist. I mean, Nicole is great too. She's an enthusiast, but to have a scientist is just amazing.
Professional nerd, right?
Yeah, professional nerd. I love that. So
I don't know. Christine's understanding is totally, she way outpaces me. It's a totally different knowledge
Well,
base.
we all have
We
our
both bring a
strengths and
different
Nicole.
flavor.
Yeah, different flavor. So we're all nerds together and we love it. Nicole, if we want to find you, are you open to that?
Unfortunately, there's nowhere you can find me.
Nicole is not findable. You have to come
I'm
to
just
Cuddle
a
Hard to
hobbyist.
find her.
I don't really talk about this kind of stuff online much. I don't feel like I have the credentials necessary to really be. I can point to people who do, but I'm not. I'm not an expert.
So would you consider yourself a closeted reptile nerd?
Yeah, I guess. Most people who know me know that I love reptiles. It comes up.
Well,
I
I
don't
guess
care
now
about
you're out.
Your credentials don't mean as much as your enthusiasm and what you
Yeah.
brought to this discussion, Nicole.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can tell that you've really done a lot of education and research on it. So that was very beneficial to me. So thank you.
Me too. I learned a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how are you guys feeling after doing this panel interview? Stu? Yeah.
Great. I really
Fun.
did learn a lot. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that there was a lot of emphasis on the environment and climate. Oh, climate disaster is already here. I mean, it's
Gosh.
105 in the UK this week. I mean, that's just unheard of.
Mm.
It's scary.
We matched a record last week here in Utah of 104.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been pretty miserable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, are you feeling good doing the interview?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of good discussions. I really loved hearing from Christine. It's really cool to hear from people who do this professionally.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well,
I
I just
think I
can
might
like
lose all
talk
faith in
about turtles
humanity.
all day.
And yeah, I love seeing everybody's enthusiasm because it's like, yes, nerds, please, thanks. That's awesome. Okay, well, next you guys can stay. We're gonna talk about a cuddle position for the episode, and we're gonna do kind of our promos, and then we'll end the show. But you can stay absolutely if you want.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, Mare, do you have a cuddle position you want to recommend?
Okay. It's strange to me because I am a very large mammal, but I get the requests for pancake quite a bit. That's where someone lays flat on their stomach and you on your stomach lay right on top of them.
Oh, okay. So they're laying face down and then you lay on top of them. Yeah, we used to have Alyssa with her monkeys would show us, but we don't have that right now. But anyway, yeah, that's weird to have face down and then lay on top.
Well, and then face up, it just feels like more like something you do intimately. I don't know. Face to face seems more intimate, or
I agree with that. But it's nice to have the weight on you. So yeah, that's a good option.
Like having a weighted blanket person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And you call it pancake.
That's what I've heard it to be called. I think in cuddle sanctuary circles, that's where I learned that. My experience with cuddling was at a cuddle sanctuary event.
I like to hear the names for them because, of course, there's like not a regulation of like how we name the positions.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of fun.
How about you? What's your favorite, or what's something that you like to talk about this time?
One that I want to remind people of that we've been talking about in our last cuddle party, we were just talking about like back to back, just sitting back to back. And it just feels so good because, again, it's not super intimate, but you get the support and you can lean on each other. And you could even like sway a little bit. Men especially.
Men like to do this.
Like this one with each other. Yeah.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not threatening.
Not intimate in a way that's too
it's not so intimate, but you really get that good support and connection, and you can talk freely. And you don't have to look in each other's eyes if that bothers people. So yeah,
Looking eye to eye is very intimate.
Mhm.
It really is. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. We still have our panelists with us. Do you guys have a cuddle position you really like? Nicole?
I'm fond of puppy piles where it's just kind of everybody just
Kind of
piled on
going
together.
Snake pile?
What is that thing called? The snake ball or something?
Snake ball?
Oh, the mating ball. Hopefully not quite the same thing.
I wouldn't call it the mating ball at cuddle party, but
I just think it's nice, kind of happens organically. Everyone's just kind of all together.
yeah, that's fun.
Cuddle, cuddle.
Everyone can participate to their comfort level.
Yeah. Christine, do you have one? Do you enjoy cuddling or sharing touch? I mean, you're
Yeah, of course. I mean, scientifically, it has been proven it raises the oxytocin levels, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes, it really does. Well, I mean, I guess it is curious because we live in these, situations where we're, a lot of times are far away from our loved ones, and so we kind of stay with what we call our turtle family. And there's actually always I at least have started to talk in the beginning when I'm with a new group of people of if people need a hug or some kind of physical touch, that they just should say it, right? Because some people really don't like it, some people do, and some people need it and they're really deprived of it in these situations. So yeah, we do usually group cuddles and group hugs and just laying on top of each other. I don't know if we have any words or try to describe what we're doing, but it's definitely about human contact, human touch. Yeah.
Well, I may be in Panama soon and I can do traveling cuddle parties, so we'll have to keep in touch.
What a great idea.
If you guys are interested. All right, well, we are heading to the end right here. Mare, would you care to read our promos?
Okay.
How you can find us and what we're doing?
All right. Do I start with you and I, or what's?
Yeah, we could say us. So like my website is marycuddler.com, or you can find me on Meetup in the Salt Lake area. I have Utah Cuddle Club and Sex Positive Utah are my groups here. So yeah, I would love to see anybody at any of my group events. Oh, we've got a visitor. Christine's showing her puppy.
Oh, hi.
So cute. Thanks, Christine. Yeah. What's her name?
Fiona.
Fiona. Oh, I love it.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's where you can find me at Mary Cuddler, marycuddler@gmail.com or marycuddler.com. You can see all the stuff I'm doing. What about you, Mare?
On Cuddlist, I'm cuddlist.com/Mare, M-A-R-E. My business is called Pasadena Healing Touch, which encompasses all the other things that I do in addition to cuddling. Website TBD, PasadenaHealingTouch.com.
Cool.
What else we have? We have.
Oh yeah, I'm on Cuddlist also. I always forget because it's not my primary thing. Cuddlist.com/Mary, M-A-R-Y.
M-A-R-Y.
That should be easy for you guys to remember. Mare and Mary.
Just toggle between the two.
There you go. Yeah.
So we have nurturednerds.com, Facebook.com/nurturednerds, Instagram, Discord server, and Twitch stream coming soon.
If you're interested in helping us populate those, please contact us because we would love social media coordinators.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Email is nurturednerdsnewbies@gmail.com. You can find us at meetup.com under Nurtured Nerds. We are having a raffle for new members, so you can get a care package if you join that raffle as a new member. And our last winner was
Sunshine. Congratulations, Sunshine. Woohoo.
Get it, girl.
All right. What did she win? What are we offering for the next raffle?
Ooh, yes.
Do we have a list? We have a list there.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it or do you want to?
Yeah,
Okay, I will. So you get a free 30-minute virtual session with a professional cuddler after you do their intake screening. A free ebook on cuddling connection, The Art of Authenticity, written by Mary Swartzen. I heard she's a really good author. So if you want to read her book, free video game gift card, which you can download some video games, and you can probably submit a question for us to ask on one of our podcasts. That would be fun. And we do still have a discount offering on Cassandra Brown's class, Jerk Proof Your Relationships. Yeah, she wants everyone to have access, so she wants to work with us to get you in whatever it takes. So if you're interested in that, please talk to us.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great program on deep listening and how to not like avoid jerks, but how to
not avoid jerks. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you are jerked off
like
balance,
stop.
Yeah, exactly. Because we all have those in our life, right? And how do you handle it? And it's a great program. And we're working on a side quest. I'm working on it. I have an idea that I want to implement, and it's coming soon. So
ooh, mysterious.
Yeah. We do the raffle about every 3 months, and it's just if you sign up to join us, you'll be entered to the raffle. So come join us as a member. We also have nerd breaks every weekend. You can see those posted on the Facebook page or the meetup page. So you can get into the nerd break when they play games and we do connection activities. It's just a fun hangout time to be nerds together. Okay, this is it. Please like, subscribe on our YouTube, listen to the podcast, check out our YouTube channel. Anything else we need to say, Mare?
Checking out Dance Break coming soon, virtual dance break.
Oh, I didn't get that one. Yeah, Dance Break. Yeah. We do Dance Break too, which is so fun. Just come and dance, because dancing really gets the oxytocin moving too.
You know who loves those? Garvin.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Are we feeling nurtured, everybody? I'm feeling nurtured.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's if you want, I'm gonna invite you to put your arms out and give yourself a hug. Only if you want to, but yeah. While you hug yourself, just
I consent.
Think of all the good vibes you give to people when you hug them and give those back to yourself. So thank you, everybody. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
So we'll cut the recording there, and thanks, you guys. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Having me.
Yeah.